Wow, guys, what a fucking day. Um, we're going to talk a lot about the psychology of what's going on in GME land, but first we're going to nail down on some of the important things. Right? Of course, everyone knows after hours what's happening, Justin. We're absolutely fucking skyrocketing. I believe we're around like 190 right now. Do you have
196. We are at 196 right now.
your screen is was frozen for a minute.
Oh,
196, yes, and that is huge. So we all know last week we were fighting for the 150 range because we knew that there was a lot of delta and option pressure at that range. So what is there tomorrow? We are pulling up trading chameleon, and I don't know if this is exactly up to date or one day behind, but as we can see, this $200 mark, there is 16,667,100 call options at the $200 mark. That means there is a potential 1.6 million additional shares that will have to be delta hedged on Monday and Tuesday, like what we saw this week, where these option makers have to go into the market and buy shares. Hopefully some of those get exercised. So there's another big level. We're seeing a humongous gap up on news of the stock split, which is going to greatly have a massive deal on the psychology behind what is going on. And it is definitely the most interesting time in GME land. Justin, what is up?
yeah. So when I look at the volume there, the one thing I've never really understood, due to my ignorance, of course, is that all people buying, or is there sales in that? Is it a net? So that's what I don't know. But the one thing I would put back in there is that in order for that number to be meaningful, we have to close above 200 on Friday. So I'm really curious to see if we see a repeat of what happened last week. Because for everyone who was around last week, it was a running battle for 150, and like you could see it at the very end, right? It was intense. That power hour going into close was it was a fun time. But the point though is, Josh, and this gets back to your point and just to everyone else, to make sure they're on board with it. What can drive action very much to the upside is that if Monday morning opens and the people who've written option, the option market makers, who might not be the same villainous market makers people like to associate the term with, if they have to deliver 175,000 shares and they only have 100,000 shares from their hedge, they have to go into the market and basically spot buy 75,000 shares in order to meet their obligations. That's probably what would explain a large part of what happened this past Monday. So what I said earlier in the week, if you go back and look at our prior videos, if you haven't already seen them, it was that my guess was that you would see, some pretty strong emotion, some green
Yeah,
days.
let me take
Yeah.
this because
Yeah,
Justin,
Josh, yeah.
he is going to be very humble. I mean, he called this bang on, and I gave him a lot of shit for it. So I will get on my hands and knees and praise the Lord and Savior right now. So basically, he said bang on. He was like, if I had to take a guess, I would say there would most likely be a run up Monday, maybe Tuesday, but he thought that they would try and kill the psychology because that is what this is all about, is how much FOMO can we build. So he said he thought, Justin said, that there would probably be a push against the psychology, and that is what we saw. I mean, people were down in the slumps. Everyone said that it was over. Ryan Cohen fought back with another psychological right hand today after hours, and we saw this massive run up. How will FOMO build? So, to Justin's humility, I will give him the props that he deserves. And he called this bang on. So, what happens now, where we know that there's all this delta pressure at the 200 level? What happens if we close over it tomorrow? There's a lot of room next week for us to have the same kind of cycle of this. Delta pressuring, building up, and a lot of people exercising calls, which leads to some more and more FOMO, increased price action, which leads to more FOMO in this self-fulfilling
Yeah.
prophecy.
If anyone has ever seen like the original Jurassic Park, when they're talking to that Australian guy who like hates the velociraptors, he's always like, they always test the fences, but never in the same place because they learn. And it's kind of the same thing with retail right now, because I think going into this, like only the more advanced, retail traders would actually screw around with options. And if retail gets comfortable with options and kind of sees that there's a regular recurring pattern, like this is going to get really interesting, really, really quick. So, anyways, I'm not going to say that this is going to be, the thing that gets us to where we want to go. But my point, though, is that in the interim, if retail learns how to take advantage of this, it will amplify the cycle. It's like a positive feedback loop. It'll put more capital in retail's pocket, giving them more dry powder, further amplifying the amplifying effect. So, very curious to see how this goes on. But, anyways,
Yeah.
Josh, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Let me game theory what could potentially happen tomorrow. Let's say these option makers see, well, right now it's Thursday and there's not too much going on where, I don't know, trading at like 160, 170. yeah, people are buying options at the 200 level, but that's $30. If we start to build price, then I'll really start to I'll bang up my hedging. I'll make sure I'll bang it up because that is the way it should be. But they are probably not expecting a $30 move after hours. And so they're going to look and say, "Oh shit, I would have to pay 1 point I would have to give out 1.6 million potential shares on Monday. So let me just start to do some of this hedging early." So I think there's a very decent chance that there is some significant price movement tomorrow as these dealers start to pre-hedge for what could potentially come.
Yeah. So the thing is, like I said, if you're not following PieFi, for God's sakes, subscribe to his channel and
Yeah,
follow him.
honestly,
Like,
you could just unsubscribe to us and just go over there, and that
yeah.
would give you much better information.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you might even see him see his shoulders again. He graced us on a Monday. It was quite a stream, quite a stream. Anyways, but the point though is that from this, if you see retail filming, particularly like the option degens filming back in, you create this self fulfilling thing. And so if we can get to or back up right now, we're at 196.25 after hours. If that stays strong, I expect there to be a battle tomorrow. That would be my guess. Like I would expect the shorts to come out swinging because they do not want that number closing high on a Friday. But nonetheless, we'll see where this goes. And I'm cautiously bullish. I was kind of feeling bad about my weeklies that I had bought, at least as of earlier today. But I think tomorrow morning I'll feel a little differently. I will feel a little differently.
Yes, it seems our friend over here does as well. You are looking at homes, mid-century modern with high ceilings, tons of glass, and modern views. It is game over. Share recall. Thank you. I am sure that me and Justin will be browsing on the internet as well for purchases that we should definitely not be making.
Oh, I've already picked out the Giga Yacht. Like legitimately. I'm not gonna tell anyone what it is because I don't want any competition for it, but it's already been picked out. Josh. Yeah.
Yeah, so are we adding to our positions tomorrow? The way me and Justin have played this is completely differently. Justin had a way too big of an option position size, like a large position size, and so he trimmed a lot of it when he was up like 100% on this massive run, and then he just started to do some other option shenanigans. I just haven't sold any. I had the majority of my position in the Junes, and a lot of January 2023. 2020, yeah, 2023. So I just haven't done anything with my options. I haven't sold any. I would love to pick up more if I saw the opportunity, but we haven't seen one. I do not really want to buy a ton of options on the way up. I would rather just hold and buy if we see another massive dip. Justin, what are you doing?
Yeah. So I feel like
strategy.
Yeah, so here was the thing, like feel like back Josh, what was it like when G was like 130ish or so, like before we dipped down and had the double dip down to like the high or the mid 80s or whatever, right? I picked up a bunch of 510s for April and a bunch of 680s for June, and so I wrote it down. I knew it was going to be bad. I had a pretty bad paper loss, and so when things turned around, I kind of got out of it. And the way I've come to appreciate the way this game is played now is that I don't know the shenanigans that they're going to play. And like, here's the other thing too, like just expect shenanigans to happen. And like, not just like, halting the stock, expect, the SEC to step in, or stuff's going to happen. Just brace yourself for that. And I think one of the ways to manage that is to give yourself more time. And so currently the big thing that I'm at right now is for like my long term or for like my main like option play on GME. I've been buying 950 calls for January 23. That's pretty much what I'm at. And I'm thinking to myself, well, listen, even if there's shenanigans, even if they halt the stock, the SEC steps in or whatever, right? Great. I'll just simply write it out. I should also note too that I've also taken on, I would call it like a side hustle with BBBY. And again, thanks to PieFi's very informative stream, I've got like a very, very small position in CLVR, but that's more so just, like we're talking like a grand, if even that. And the last thing I would say too is coming from real estate, I also really like commodities. And so I've also got some options on First Majestic. It's tickers AG, but that's a completely separate topic of conversation. But anyways, the key thing is that I want Delta. I want to, not Delta. I want to be able to go very, very far into the future. And I don't mind paying a premium to do that.
Yeah, Jay says, what do you think the psychology of the short hedge funds? Do you think one or more see the writing on the wall and will try to escape this first? Justin, what do you think about that?
So what was it? Stephen Cohen, 0.72? They did a redemption from Citadel? No, who did they redeem from? Well, back up. Let me put it like this. Citadel redeemed their investment in Melvin. And I think probably 0.72 redeemed their investment in Melvin as well. So you've heard me say this before. Big picture, What'll start MOAS is the system calling bullshit on the system, but the system doesn't want to call bullshit on the system because the system knows that's an incredible threat to it. But then again, the system also imagine like you're sitting in like a burning theater, right, or whatever, right, and like everyone's just this is the system. They're just sitting in their chairs and they're just, well, maybe it's going to go out. Maybe there'll be a rainstorm or whatever, right? But sooner or later, one person's going to break for the door. And when that happens, all hell is going to break loose. But until it does happen, it hasn't happened. So I think the psychology of, the bad guys per se is if we can just keep living it a little longer, if we can just keep kicking the can, and more importantly, if we can break retail psychology on it, maybe retail will lose interest. But then again, if you factor that in with if retail figures out to do these option cycles, like that's not necessarily going to be the best thing. Now, don't get me wrong. The people who are short, again, hat tip to PiFi, they will probably make money off the volatility. So don't think that, this is going to be as bad as you think it might be for the shorts. But what it will do is that it'll get more people to FOMO in, and the act of more people FOMOing in will hopefully be enough to destabilize and break over the, if not the week, maybe the next month, 2 months, 3 months, or quarter or whatever, right? The mechanisms that the shorts use to warehouse and manage their short position. That was a long answer. Josh, did I get it?
Yes, let me share my fuck, motherfucker. Oh shit. God, this is why we edit videos. All right, let me share my screen, Justin.
Hold on.
Get this going. So let me just play a quick clip that I saw earlier from our favorite Mayo enthusiast. Can you hear it fine?
Yeah, it's coming through.
These days in the application of more technology in your trading.
Well, there's been a rise of quantitative trading strategies over the last 30 years, and today we're at probably a peak in capital deployed with these strategies. This is part of the march of progress forward. There's an understanding that many dynamics of how humans behave can be, in a sense, taken advantage of by technology. If we know how humans behave and we can predict that, we can use that to better position our portfolios. And a number of quantitative strategies rely upon human biases and behavior to be successful. So as we understand this, look at the recent Nobel Prize in behavior.
So what is he saying here? His expertise is in human psychology, and he sets up all these fantastic algorithms and super smart quant teams that are just basically showing retail always loses, and they sell at they buy at the top and sell at the bottom. So what they do is they plug these in and it works great. But they think that they're dealing with rational creatures, and they are. And what happens when irrationality gets taken to a next level that becomes a rational decision, where everybody is figuring out potentially what they are doing and what they consider irrational? It's just like in 1997 with LTCM. All their data is plugged in perfectly. Their math makes sense, but they don't account for this one little caveat that could take the whole system down with it.
Yeah, and then just a sign. This is the first time it happened. When in '98, when LTCM blew up, it was an irrational actor, that is Russia defaulting on their internal bonds. In 2008, what blew up is you had a counterparty that was perceived to be riskless, failed. It's the same thing over and over and over again. But anyways.
Yeah, so I mean, just expect more psychological warfare. Justin, I know you have some thoughts on AMC. I don't really do too much looking into it. It's much more like I think they're both run because like if you looked at the price movement, they're pretty much the exact same. The reason why we like GME is leadership, and so what like it. Insiders buy for, I mean, they can sell for many reasons, but they will only buy for one. GME insiders have been buying, AMC insiders have been selling. Not to say that they could be doing this out of just smart decision making. They absolutely could be. But if I had to choose one or the other, I would choose the insiders who are buying their own stock.
Yeah, no, pretty much the same thing on that front. So, was it Aaron, the CEO of AMC? I have no particular insight, but like he kind of strikes me as one of them versus Cohen, who strikes me as an outsider. So as far as the stock goes, I mean, it'll probably do something. It certainly did. Josh, it was AMC that was also halted, right? When GME halted, AMC also halted. Yeah. So there you go. So it's probably going to do something. Will it do as much as GME? Well, that I don't know. Again, when I branched out to a Bed Bath and Beyond. Again, that's really just Cohen's investment there. But yeah, I wish I had a better answer to give you, but I don't.
Yeah, so this is what's going on right now. Tomorrow, going to be one of the biggest days in a long time, and I am extraordinarily excited to see what happens. I'm sure as all of you are. We will be fighting for the $200 level again. If we break that, expect some great movement going into next week. What is going to drive this is these option degens. Justin is very much so an option degen himself, and he's proud. And there will be many more. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's too much else going on. Justin, do you have any last words?
I just wanted to comment on, we've got a comment from, what is the name? Dick Enormous. Well, Dick, yeah, that is something that very will be the case. Again, hat tip to PyFi on that front. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll be in PyFi's chat next week. Well, I mean, tomorrow.
Yeah.
But,
hold on, just one more second. So on this one right here, will they slam the price at open to stop FOMO? I don't know. That's an excellent question. Keep a close eye on what happens in pre-market tomorrow. But again, I would say from the shorts perspective, think back to what happened last Friday in the sense that expect a very bloody battle, where the bulls are battling the bears all the way through. It's going to be a fun day. But again, let's not count chickens before they're hatched. But that's how I think it'll play out.
I think this could be one of the most intelligent comments. So, Mr. Hyder, will the price of mayo go to the moon? I happen to believe so. I think there will be a lot of humongous orders of a few brands of mayonnaise being purchased and sent to a few places on Earth. And
oh, last thing too, like if a certain mayo enthusiast does get his hedge fund blown up, it's not so much like it's not so much him he's going to want to go to jail. And the reason I say that is that jail will be safer than being out on the street, because if he really has when Mayo Force One flies over to where was he going, Northern Europe, in the middle of the night, I don't think that's going over just to take in the sights. I don't think he's trying to go over to make a dinner or anything like that. I think my suspicion is that seems more like answering to one's lords and masters. And when you start operating at that level, you operate above and beyond the law. You shouldn't, but that's what happens. So my guess is that prison is actually, and non-ironically, probably going to be safer than out of prison. But again, let's not count chickens before they're hatched.
yeah, Phil, if we'll do a Sunday night Q&A from now on. So if you have some more off-topic questions, Justin would love to talk about traveling. He is the foremost expert in the world. Well, the fourth most, as he knows the other top three. But guys, we'll keep it short today. So we will thank you, and we will see you again soon.
Take care, guys.